So today we are going to cover up a topic of foundation of nursing, that would be fluid and electrolyte balance. So now I'm going to give you a little bit overview about how the body maintains the fluid and electrolyte balance. So the first one is homeostasis. What is homeostasis? Basically, it is a term used when your body is maintaining the temperature internally. For example, the environment changes to a little cold temperature. So what your body will do, your body will regulate homeostasis, and then your body will shift to a little bit higher temperature. Your body will get warm in order to survive to the colder environment. So that is homeostasis. Basically, it's the stability of the internal environment. So the next thing is concentration of the composition of body fluids. They must be nearly constant. What does that mean? So, for example, your blood. If your blood is too much diluted, like it is too much diluted, excess of fluid volume. So what will happen? Your blood pressure will increase, and if your blood volume is too much concentrated, your blood is too much concentrated, then what will happen? Your blood pressure will decrease. So the body fluids must be nearly constant, concentration must be constant, not too much, not too lower, it must be constant. The next one is how your body maintain the fluid electrolyte imbalance. For example, if your body is deficient, either it's fluid, either it's something like electrolytes, either it's potassium or it's sodium, what our body generally do, we will get hungry, we will get thirsty, and then we will drink some water, our electrolyte will get refilled, right? So if we need some kind of electrolyte like potassium or anything, we will get hungry basically, and then we will eat some food, and then the electrolyte will get replaced and we will get into the normal condition. Okay, but if suppose someone's electrolyte is into the very low level, then what will happen? Your body will demand it constantly, and the patient can get to the hospital, and then we will provide them IV fluids. That's how we are going to replace fluids. So either we will drink fluids, we will eat something in order to get the electrolytes, or we will get the IV fluids. Next, if your body has an excess of fluid, for example, your body has an edema or something like that, what we will do? We will try to excrete out that kind of fluid, that kind of edema. So how we can do that? We can give the patient drug, we can give patient furosemide, right? If there is edema into the abdominal region or perinatal region, then what we will do? We will put a kind of dialysis, right? So there are many methods to excrete out the fluid if there is excess fluid in the patient's body, and that condition is not generally a normal condition. That includes a kind of chronic diseases. So the next thing is our kidneys. That our kidneys plays a major role when we talk about controlling the fluid and electrolyte balance. Why? Because every time we drink something, we are drinking water and any kind of drink, where it will go? It will go to filter out in our kidneys, and then what will happen? The kidneys will filter it out and it will excrete out through our system. So generally, if we see, the kidneys are playing a major role in filtering out substances. The kidneys are keeping the electrolytes, which one to keep, which one to excrete out. So it's kind of a major role, right? So that's how our body system tries to maintain the fluid and electrolyte balance by using the kidneys, by using the homeostasis and the blood. So there is a one important thing for the nurses, like if the nurse suspect any kind of electrolyte imbalance, what should the nurse do? The nurse must monitor client's cardiovascular status, client's respiratory status, neurostatus, musculoskeletal, renal, skin, and GI status. How you are going to check it? So first we are going to talk about the cardiovascular. You are going to check the blood pressure of the patient. In the respiratory, we talk about you are going to check the SpO2, because it can tell if the patient is a normal or not. It is the basic indicator. The next one is neurological. For neurological, you need to check the GCS score, Glasgow Coma Scale score. We are going to discuss it later. And then the musculoskeletal, you are going to ask the patient if the patient is kind of feeling any kind of pain in the muscles, because that also indicates the electrolyte imbalance. And then the renal, we are going to check the input output intake of the patient. How much is the output, right? If the output is equal or if the output is less than the input, we are going to check these kind of things. And then the skin integrity, how we are going to check the skin integrity. If the patient's skin is dry, flaky, that or scaly, that means the patient is dehydrated. If the skin is indicating signs, that means patient is severely dehydrated. And then the GI status, if the electrolyte level is very low, if the fluid is very low in the patient's body, then the patient will be constipated. So that's how we are going to check the GI status. Right, so that was all about it. Now we are going to discuss the fluid volume deficit. What happens when your body has low fluids? So, as we discussed before, there's a term which is called dehydration. When does it occur? When the fluid is very less in your body than it is required. Okay, it is insufficient to meet the needs of the body, so your body will not work properly, right? There are many kind of symptoms you will see in the dehydration. So here we are going to talk about the treatment. What will be the treatment in the fluid deficit? So first of all, we are going to restore that fluid volume, because there is less fluid in the body. How we are going to restore? If the patient is conscious, then we can give the patient electrolytes orally. We can replace the electrolytes, right? Or we can give IV fluids as well if the patient is not able to ingest the liquids orally. The main thing, we need to check what is the cause of the dehydration. Either it's kind of a drug, right? Either it's kind of a disease, whatever it is, we need to check the cause as well. So next thing is types of fluid volume deficits. Like there are many types, and according to the types of deficits, we are going to replace that kind of IV fluids to the patient. So first one is isotonic dehydration. So isotonic dehydration is the most common type of dehydration we can say. And what happens is this is water and your electrolytes both get dissolved in equal proportions, right? So this is known as hypovolemia. The both water and electrolytes both are losing in your body. So what your body can go into hypovolemic shock due to this, right? So this is the most common type of dehydration, as I said. So what it can result in? It can result in decreased blood volume and inadequate tissue perfusion, and your body can go into hypovolemic shock. So what we can do in this kind of thing? We can replace the isotonic fluid, that is the normal NS that we get is 0.9% NS, we can give in this kind of situation. So the next one is hypertonic dehydration. What does the hypertonic mean? Water loss is more than the electrolyte loss. Water is, your body is losing too much of the water. How you can lose it? You can lose in kind of conditions like vomiting or like diarrhea, right? So body is losing water more than the electrolytes. So the clinical problems that occur result from alterations in the concentration of plasma electrolytes. As I said, we will talk about the plasma electrolytes later, but you need to remember this kind of thing, that how the hypertonic dehydration can occur. There will be any kind of alterations in the concentration of plasma electrolyte patterns, right? The next is fluid moves from intracellular compartment into the plasma and then into the interstitial fluid spaces. So how is this how this thing can cause dehydration? This is causing the cellular dehydration and shrinkage. For example, this is your cell, and what is happening, all the material, all the fluid inside your cell is going out, is going extracellularly, right? So what your cell have is nothing, there is no fluid in your cell, so it will shrink just like a raisin, right? So this will cause a hypertonic dehydration. That means that outer the cell there is lot of fluid, but inside the cell there is nothing. And the next one is hypotonic dehydration. What happens in the hypotonic is electrolyte loss exceeds the water loss. So before we have discussed in the hypertonic, there was water loss more and electrolyte loss was not that much, right? The fluid volume was decreased, but what is happening in the hypotonic dehydration is the electrolyte loss is more than the water loss. So how does this happen? So, as I said, in the hypotonic dehydration, electrolyte loss exceeds the water loss, as I said, right? So, what are the clinical problems? There can be a fluid shift between the compartments. So, in the cell, there is compartments. There is the ICF compartment and the ECF compartment, and in the between, there is interstitial space in the compartment. So there are different type of fluid which like according to their concentrations, some are in the ECF, some are in the ICF, and some are in the interstitial spaces. So what happened in the hypotonic dehydration is it can occur when the fluid shifts between the compartments, and it can result in decrease in the plasma volume. So fluid moves from the plasma and interstitial spaces into the cells. So in the hypertonic dehydration, what we have discussed is the cell is shrinking, and in the hypotonic, the cell is fluffing. There is a lot of water in the cell, but in the outer spaces, in the extracellular spaces, if we talk about, there is no electrolytes. All the electrolyte is in the cell, but the body, the vessels also need the fluids as well, right? So that's how the cell will swell up. So that was all about the types of dehydration. Now we are going to talk about the fluid volume deficit causes. What are the causes? So first one, as we discussed, the isotonic. What is happening in inadequate intake of fluids or solutes? You are not drinking enough. You are doing full bloom workout or something like that, but you are not drinking water. You are not taking your electrolytes. Another one, fluid are shifting in between your compartments, as we discussed, right? Excessive loss of isotonic body fluids, as we discussed. Now the next one is hypertonic. What is happening in the hypertonic? There is a fluid loss due to the excessive perspiration. You are doing too much of workout. Hyperventilation, ketoacidosis. There is too much acid buildup inside your body due to the buildup of ketones. How that is happening? When our body needs energy and there is no glucose left. This basically happens in the diabetic patients when the sugar is exceeding too much and your body is not getting enough sugar. So what will happen is your body will break down the fat, and that broken down fat releases a type of ketones, and that ketones will be acidic to your body, and that will cause ketoacidosis. And then the prolonged fever, diarrhea, or any kind of early stage kidney disease. And then diabetes insipidus. What happens in the diabetes insipidus is the patient urines too much. So if the patient is excreting out too much urine, what will rest in the body? There's nothing, right? And then the hypotonic dehydration, the how the patient is getting this a kind of dehydration is chronic illness, excessive fluid replacements. You are giving too much IV fluids, so the patient's body, you will see the patient's body is swelling up, right? There's the patient is gaining weight, right? Or kidney disease or chronic malnutrition. So how we are going to treat that? The main thing, right? That's what the nurses do. So first is you need to prevent the further fluid loss. So suppose the patient came to you, and the patient, you suspect that the patient is dehydrated. So first we are going to stop that factor, whatever is causing it. We need to start IV fluids as soon as possible, right? To increase the fluid compartment volumes to the normal ranges, right? Next one is we can provide oral rehydration therapy. We can provide IV fluid replacement. If the patient can drink fluids, we can give it, but the fastest route is IV. So if the patient has severely dehydrated, so we can give that IV as well. So the main thing, isotonic, if the patient has isotonic dehydration, we will treat it with isotonic fluids. If the patient has hypertonic dehydration, there are fluids for hypertonic, we will treat it with hypotonic. And then if the patient is hypotonic dehydrated, then we will treat it with hypertonic fluid solution. So you see, there is the fluid is opposite from the condition, but the isotonic one will be treated with the isotonic fluids. The next one is we will administer medications according to the cause. If the patient has diarrhea, we will give anti-diarrheal or antimicrobial medications. If the patient is severely vomiting, so we will give the antiemetic. If the patient has severe fever, we will give antipyretic medications, right? As prescribed, whatever the doctor will prescribe, we will give according to that. The nurse can't prescribe the medications. So yeah. And the important thing is you need to monitor the electrolyte values, because if you are giving, suppose if you are giving IV fluids, right? So we need to monitor the values as well, right? What if we don't check the values and the patient is getting the fluid in excess amount? That would create another problem, right? So we need to check the lab values, the electrolyte values on time. Whenever the doctor is saying, we need to check that values, and we need to treat an imbalance. If we saw any kind of imbalance from the results of the report, so we need to treat it, right? And we need to check the values as well in order to administer the another medication, if the medication is needed in future or not. So that was all about the fluid deficits, and in the next topic we will discuss about the fluid volume excess, and that was all for today.